Today's topic, celebrating our one-year anniversary in MLK Holiday.
Good morning, Justice B family. Happy New Year. This is 2021. We haven't seen you since last year. Hope everyone is having an enjoyable new year. And welcome to our special edition of the Justice B Talk Show on this Martin Luther King holiday, which happens to also be our one-year anniversary. We are so excited to be in the house today. And to our St. Louis family on Real STL News, thank you for joining us. We have a fabulous show planned for you all today in honor of the Martin Luther King holiday and celebrating our one-year anniversary. So sit back, enjoy, participate, comment. We just really want you to sit back and reflect. This show is pretty reflective today in light of the events that we've experienced over the last year, in which we have referred to as the Bloody Summer of 2020. And thinking back on Bloody Sunday, in which we had the historical event of the Selma March. In a few moments, we're going to begin to show you a few clips that will lead us from Bloody Sunday up into the Bloody Summer of 2020, and most recently, the chaos at the Capitol. After each clip that we show, we'll have a brief discussion about what that looks like, what that means, what that feels to people. And then we'll take it on to the next clip. The culmination of this program will look at the current issues around the Bloody Summer of 2020 and the chaos at the Capitol, in which we'll hear from some of our folks from the current generation, our NxGen Media interns, and some guest speakers. Sit back, enjoy, and let's get this party started. All right, Bobby?
In a television studio in Washington on August 28, 1963, a small group from Hollywood, California joined to give their own personally held views of the civil rights gathering which took place on that day. Here, as citizens committed to the cause of civil rights, are James Baldwin,
and yet I had to do something very difficult, Sidney.
Harry Belafonte,
He's intelligent and articulate, but he's also
Marlon Brando,
turned up. And the problem
Charlton
faced
Heston,
human sympathy, but I had to be a relentless in
Joseph Mankiewicz,
get his story and to be sympathetically implacable.
and Sidney Poitier.
To press him without being mean to him.
The moderator, David Schoenblum.
Gentlemen, I think that it's about time to begin our discussion. We're here in the studio today with 7 men who have 2 things in common. They're entertainers and artists, and they've all come to Washington. They're 7 out of some 200,000 American citizens who came to the Capitol to march, or who has fought in the name of nonviolence, love, and brotherhood. Also talks about a dream he has. We heard this eloquent statement of the great dream that even in Alabama, we're going to accomplish this. You're not a prophet, you're a novelist, but novelists very often see into the future. Do you share the dream? You think it will be achieved?
I think we all at this table, and many more people than that, share that dream. When Martin said that he dreamed of a country in which his 4 children would not be penalized because of their color. All of us believe that. I think we're all committed to that. To one, it is perhaps paradoxical, but it's the American Negro in this context who, on the basis of the evidence, has the most faith in this country. I myself have always, no matter how bitter I became, believed, as Harry puts it, in the potential of this country, in the tremendous energy here, and the things that we can achieve, if we will. The importance of today, in my mind, is that for the first time in our history, and for the first time in 100 years, the nation shows some signs of really dealing with its central problem instead of, as it has done for 100 years, avoiding it, evading it, denying it, lying about it, pretending it did not exist. The country will have to now go to work, and very hard work, very dangerous work, to change itself, to achieve this dream that Martin was talking about. And if we do not achieve this dream, we have no future at all.
Do you believe we will achieve it?
I certainly believe it. I certainly believe it.
In a nonviolent manner?
But yes, I believe that too. But it is going to cost us every single one of us, including everyone here and everyone in this country.
I'm not quite so prepared to say that it will not be achieved without violence, because the Negro people have conducted themselves non-violently. The 200,000 people that were there today, there were many predictions, and one could take book on whether there would be a display of violence by all the extreme factions and whatnot. But the truth of the matter is that the people who came to that gathering today were people in great anguish, who have come from the Birminghams and come from the Jackson, Mississippis, and they came there with anguish and with hurt and with dignity and with integrity, and it was one of the most orderly displays I've ever seen of 200,000 people with a grievance.
I never seen anything like it.
And if the Bull Connors continue to release dogs on the people as an answer to their legitimate cries, if they continue to use cattle rods to prod them, if they continue to use hoses to whip them through the streets, the human heart and the human body can only contain so much. There must come a point, if they are pushed to it, for retaliation. So once again, I put the emphasis on who it is that will precipitate it, because I do believe that the Negro community, I think that I can speak for most of the 20 million Negroes, are committed to this thing being done non-violently. They have already displayed that. They've displayed it very eloquently since the Montgomery bus strikes.
Oh, yes.
And I also must say one other thing, because I know we must move on and others must speak. But when you speak of Peking and you speak of Moscow and you speak of other centers in the world where a demonstration like today could not take place, yes, I accept that. But I also say that it is long since past the time when we can measure our own conscience and our own sense of morality based on what some decayed society refuses to give its own. We must, it is like arguing with the present administration as to what we feel they did or did not do in relation to the civil rights struggle, because they were measuring it based on the previous
Mr.
administration.
Belafonte, I could not agree with you more in terms of measuring in our society, but remember, the entire world watches this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The world doesn't have a correct measuring stick. We all have lived around the world. When I mention Moscow, Peking, or any of these things, it is because here we are talking to the world. More than 100 countries will be listening to the discussion today.
No, I understand that. I just want to make one statement to tie this off. I agree with you wholeheartedly, incident, and I said that in the beginning. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we are also the loudest crier of any nation in the world about democracy and about the free countries.
What we've been doing, in effect, is we've been letting the Negro have his dream. Say, go on dreaming. Well, the time has come, I think, and we've shown today, to stop dreaming this dream and wake up to it. Mm-hmm. Because this dream was put into very precise words called the Declaration of Independence. Mm-hmm. It was restated as the Emancipation Proclamation, and in this past 100 years, we have permitted the Negro to have his dream, a dream that was restated by Dr. King today. But Dr. King injected one new point, which is that perhaps an aroused American people can permit the rest of the American people to.
And I firmly believe that.
This is the point.
Mr. Poitier came to this country. How old were you when you came to America?
14.
You were 14 years old when you came to this country.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. All right. So the very first video that we showed was a video which was entitled Hollywood Roundtable 1963, in which you had several prominent arts and entertainment folks from Hollywood discussing their participation in the Civil Rights March of the March on Washington of 1963, the very first one. And in that particular roundtable discussion, you had Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, Marlon Brando. And I remember watching the video thinking their commentary sounded like 2021 or 2020. Wow. None of their discussion was unfamiliar to me. Mm-hmm. And how is it that from 1963 to 2020, we're having the very exact same conversation is beyond me. Let's unpack that. Reverend McCowan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Justice Beat talk show. And I'm so glad to be here this morning. I would just say that I think you said it exactly correct, Sister Elaine, is that there has not been that much of a change in the discussion of the same things we have been actually fighting for since slavery and since the amendments that actually gave us citizenship and declared African Americans are free. And so we've been having the same conversation about treating us with dignity and respect, making sure that we have the civil rights and human rights as everybody else as citizens of this country. So yes, it hasn't changed, unfortunately.
Right. Anyone else want to chime in on that, on their perspective about how we from 1963 to 2020 are still having the same very conversation?
Well, because all of the same conditions exist for the brown and black population that existed in 63. The fact that some of us made what might be considered strides in some areas, such as economically or job-wise, does not mean that the platform is open to everybody and given equal footing. It's that simple. Nothing has changed in the environment that could result in any kind of sustained changes.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Now, for those of y'all know I normally keep stuff very separate, but this is a special day. That's my mom who had that commentary.
What a blessing. We're blessed. You're blessed.
All right. Anyone else? All right. So, Bobby, you want to set up the next video?
Sure thing.
King, how are things shaping up now for tomorrow?
Things are shaping up beautifully. We have people coming in from all over the country. I suspect that we will have representatives from almost every state in the Union, and naturally a large number of people from the state of Alabama. And we hope to see, and we plan to see, the greatest witness for freedom ever taken place, that has ever taken place on the steps of the capital of any state in the South. And this whole march adds drama to this total thrust. Last Sunday, more than 8,000 of us started on a mighty walk from Selma, Alabama. They told us we wouldn't get here. There were those who said that we would get here only over their dead bodies. Well, talk. Yes. All the world today knows that we are here and we are standing before the forces of power in the state of Alabama saying we ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Today I want to tell the city of Selma. Tell them, Doctor. Today I want to say to the state of Alabama. Yes, sir. Today I want to say to the people of America and the nations of the world that we are not about to turn around. Yes, sir. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Yes, we're on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. The burning of our churches will not deter us. Yes, sir. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Like an idea whose time has come. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Not even the marching of mighty armies can halt us. Yes, sir. We're moving to the land of freedom. Yes, sir. I know you're asking today, how long will it take? Somebody's asking, how long will prejudice blind the visions of men? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, yes, sir, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth-crushed earth will rise again. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. Yes, sir. Because no lie I can live forever. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. How long? Because you shall reap what you sow. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. How long? Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yes, yet that scaffold sways the future. Yes. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Yes, how long? Not long. Not long. Because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Yes, he's trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Yes, sir. He's loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. Yes, his truth is marching on. Yes, sir. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah.
All right, everybody, that was the Selma March. Selma, March 7th, 1965. That particular march was one that they deemed or termed as Bloody Sunday. It was a very horrific march in that they were met with a lot of resistance, National Guards, police, which makes you think about what did or did not happen at the Capitol on January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And again, look at the time span. March 7th, 1965, January 6th, 2021. And the reaction was very, very different. Where are we today? How are we having, and it may even go back to Ms. Gill's comment about things, just the conditions simply have not changed. Let's talk about the infiltration of law enforcement by white supremacy. Let's talk about the infiltration of all of the various institutions that still make for those same conditions to be present. You want to take a stab at that, Reverend McCowan, or anyone else?
Yeah, I appreciate you allowing me to speak this morning. I'm going to be real brief because I really want to hear from some of the other guests and different. But I'll just say that, it was just a time where that's what you had. You had the white supremacists, members of the KKK, taking over the different arms of government, from the sheriff to the judges. And it seemed like African Americans just, for the most part, just really couldn't get a break. And still are experiencing that, even now. In some cases, we are actually taking steps backwards. We've actually gone backwards. You have more African Americans in prison than you have had in this country since the inception of this country. And you do have the Soul School to Prison pipeline. And that's because there are people who don't look like you and I, who don't care about you and I, and who are supremacists and Klans members and the whatever, the busty boys or whatever they would call themselves, or, just in a position to oppress us. And oppression is real and it's painful and it kills and it murders and it steals people's lives away. And so, that's that whole thing about that Bloody Sunday. We experience that on a regular basis whenever we protest in peacefulness, not to take over the government, but just to get the government off our neck and get the people who are oppressing us off our back. But whenever we go out there and we try to protest, which is our right under the Constitution, freedom of grievances, to petition the government to do things better, we're met with such violence.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Adolphus Pruitt, sir, love to have your perspective.
Sorry, I was drinking, so I'm detoxing. And I just switched to my iPad from here. So I sort of missed what the conversation was.
Okay, we were discussing the second video that we just showed, which was Bloody Sunday, the Selma March in 1965, March 7th, and the contrast between that march and what happened at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. the response, in terms, the contrast in terms of the response?
Well, I mean, the biggest contrast is how law enforcement responded to the people doing the marching, doing the protesting. While they were as outnumbered at the bridge in Selma as they were at the Capitol, their response was not proportionate as relates to what happened there. And more than anything, let's be clear, they saw those as their neighbors. The people they ran into at the Capitol, they saw those as their neighbors, their co-workers, their friends, the parishioners, the people they deal with on a daily basis. So they had no idea that they would turn on them and use that sort of force against them that way. So in some ways, I believe they were shocked when they saw that. But in Selma was just the opposite. They didn't see their neighbors. What they saw was some folks that who they felt did not have the right to be upset about anything, and let alone be protesting and trying to demand that this country change its ways. So they saw them more as they were the terrorists, believe it or not.
Right.
The folks marching in Selma, they saw them as terrorists when they were not, and it was just the opposite of what happened at the Capitol.
Right. You know, there's been much discussion about the ranks being infiltrated and how folks on the inside help to carry this out. And I would imagine the same was present in 1965 during Selma. How do we get at that? How do we get at this infiltration and this treasonous behavior in terms of who can we trust? Really, we're at a crossroads. We're at a major crossroads in this country. The nation is divided. Ultimately, it looks like we're going to have two, if you will, presidents, in terms of this one over here representing this group of folk, and this one over here representing another. The first time in our history. What's happening?
Well, just don't forget about, there's a movie, I think it's out, I've been trying to catch it, called The FBI and MLK.
Okay.
And it talks about about how the FBI, how they wiretap King and all the other stuff. But let's be clear, whether it was the Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or anybody else, infiltration, people on the inside working against the people that they're standing with has always been the case, and I think it always will be. And so, yeah, of course, there were some folks at the Capitol, I believe, was working with them because they believed in them, and of course, they wanted to win. As far as they was concerned, is you had some Republicans that duly elected in the House and the Senate, who were about to lose power, that said that, hey, if these folks can go back and give us our power back, I don't care how they do it. I'm all for it, because at the end of the day, I get to hold on to the power that I had, and that power is important. That power is extremely important. The bigger issue, though, overall is that America is becoming darker.
Yes.
And everybody who's not dark feels that, not everybody, there's a group of Americans who are not dark, who feel that everything in their lives that is going wrong is because America's getting darker. That's just the bottom line. At the end of the day, everybody who's majority of people non-white, who feel that they have not been successful in life, getting jobs, they've not been successful in education. They're just not happy that the American dream that they was born and raised and heard about all their lives, that they don't have it. And the reason they don't have it is because folks who look like me and you are taking it away from them, or even worse, somebody giving it to us and we didn't even earn it. And that infuriates them.
Elaine, you asked the question, how did we get here? I don't think that there is really an adult Black person who was surprised by what was revealed during that Capitol riot, that there were military people and policemen and government officials involved. I think most of us have realized most of our life that those are the people that represent the power structure now and then. So the fact that this was made so public is probably what's most surprising to people, but that shouldn't be the case either, because from the time 45 took office, they basically were given license to come out of the woodwork and out of the shadows, and really let everybody know where the Black and the brown people, in their mind, where they stood in this country. When you look at the Selma situation and the one on the Capitol on the 6th, I mean, they were two really very different situations. You had a group of Black folks, unarmed, peacefully attempting to march to the steps of the Selma courthouse, who were brutally attacked with absolutely no possibility of protecting themselves or fighting back, which is different from what went on in the Capitol. Admittedly, those who were supposed to provide protection were understaffed and caught off guard. I truly believe, I think there was an intentional withholding of sufficient troops and policemen to keep those people from accessing not just the Capitol steps, but the Capitol grounds itself. All of us recognize that Black and brown faces wouldn't have even got to the Capitol grounds, let alone get on the steps and inside the building.
Right.
For those of us in our everyday life encountering various authorities, I believe, recognize that our police forces are full of people who are biased, very biased. Matter of fact, this morning I read a Facebook post where an officer in St. Louis County made a racist comment and then went out over his radio because he didn't realize it was still open. So now we have a Black colonel being assigned to lead that investigation. And this is somebody who is ostensibly on their way out the door for retirement within a week, but yet he gets assigned to this investigation. And that's all because of the power structure that's in place. He probably was in no position to refuse an assignment from a high level official, at least from his perspective anyway. But that is what we are subject to day in and day out. That person who uttered that slur is suspended, but not fired. And this is an incident that, I don't know, over 2 or 3 weeks ago. So the time initially, that has changed in the environment in which we live.
All right, thank you for that. We've reached our 10:30 mark. We're going to take a quick break.
Martin Luther King led a march here in Memphis in support of the sanitation workers. This is one of the few times when his staff did not organize the march. Some of the young people saw this as an opportunity to demonstrate their frustration and what they considered the slowness with which the community leadership was moving. They began to break out windows and disrupt the march. This gave the policemen an opportunity to move in, to break up the march in an effort to discredit Dr. Martin Luther King and the local leadership.
When we came back downtown the following day, really to be confronted with tanks and half-tracks and jeeps and National Guard with bayonets all over the place, it really sort of provided the classic kind of confrontation between striking workers with nothing more than a picket sign and really what was the might of the armed forces of this city. And it was frightening in one aspect, and where the least bit of wrong action could really have triggered a situation that would have been tragic for many people.
Somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for rights.
Go ahead.
So, the last one was the sanitation workers video. April 4th, 1968, which you also know is a significant date in terms of that it's the date of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, the sanitation workers, all they were asking was for fair wages, to be treated with dignity, humanity, and again, we're at the same place in terms of fair wages, being treated humanely. I'm reflecting on the conversations that were had when the pandemic first hit, and folks were talking about essential workers and who do those essential workers look like, what kind of jobs are they holding, fair wages, those individuals not necessarily having the luxury or benefit of being able to work from home. Again, 1968, 2020, issues still remain the same.
Yeah.
And one of the things we need to recognize about that 1968 march is that it was really a bitter disappointment to King because of the fact that it ended in such violence. The younger elements in the group saw an opportunity and began to smash windows and destroy property, which then gave the police an excuse to come in and display the force that they did. And we're dealing with pretty much the same issue today. I know that a lot of the young people might attribute my perspective to my being aged, an old person's view. But the fact that some of us have lived as long as we have and witnessed as much as we also know a little bit about how to maneuver and to manipulate in order to get some desired outcomes. And that's the message that all of us who are in this fight are trying to get out to the younger members, that destruction works against you, and particularly when the destruction is taking place in your own neighborhoods, when you are depriving yourself of the very services that are critical to you on an everyday basis.
Excellent points. And I'm glad you brought those out, because as I was reviewing the video last night, I thought about the incidents of violence and destruction in Portland over the summer, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, and again, it was at the helm or at the hands of young people. And you being a seasoned elder and being able to connect the dots, again, Same situation happened with the sanitation workers strike, and then with BLM, Black Lives Matter, and the level of, and whoever else may have been a part of that or infiltrated that movement, still resulted in unwarranted destruction and violence.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
You know, Mark Twain said that history does not repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And so we find ourselves again back in that same cycle of, you know, what is a job that does not pay you a full wage? Martin King said that there's no reason for anybody to work all day and still not have enough money to live. And that was the whole purpose of us coming up with the whole idea of a living wage, so $15 or more, and plus whatever it is that you need in your community based on your economic situation in whatever state or city you're living in. And so these folks are just saying that, you know, we might pick up your trash, but you don't have to treat us like trash. You don't have to pay us like trash. We're grown adult people, have to provide for our families, so you need to pay us like we are men. And in that particular time, that was the group that was dealing with. And these men were saying, I am, if you notice those posters, they were saying, I am a man. And we still have that fight to this day. Even in some of the folks who are talking in some of these riotous, seditionist, Tea Party, right-wing, supremacist folk stuff, they are saying inhumane things about Black people, attempted to dehumanize us and not even make us a person. And so that's why it was so important in 1968 to say that I am a man. And so we still have to say that today, that I am a worker. And so we need to be paid such. No, you can't work 40 hours all day and still be poor. It makes no sense.
Right. Anyone else? We got a lot of folks on here. I know you all got something to say.
I would like to speak if that's fine.
Is it Ryan?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right, Ryan Hampton is a new intern with the show from Howard University, and he'll be joining us in
right.
3. All right, Ryan, what you got?
I don't know. I had so much to think about and ponder as I've heard you and the Reverend and your mother speak. And I just wanted to also say I appreciate being allowed this platform to also speak my point of view from the younger perspective. From everything that we talk about, from like in comparison to then and now, only thing I can see is like, you know, the issue I see is just that you have these people who run these governments and people's lives. They're the ones that have all the autonomy, all the time and space to do things whenever they feel like it, and all the entitlement. So going back to like from wages to the marches to the riots, like these are, and talking about doing things the proper way. But it's like, how long can you do things the proper way when you know it's a system of governance that was born out of a system of government from 400, 500 years ago, where it's like strictly white men who found like a certain way how to roll the government, and nobody has done the civic duty or the due diligence to change that perception. And it's just like, it's just really kind of hard when people live with that American dream ideology and think that, oh, you work hard. If you work hard, you'll receive the fruits and benefits of how hard you work. When that's just not the case. When you just have people that are just like not having the empathetic duty for their fellow man or woman to like do right by them and pay them livable wages. And then when it also comes to violence, like you said, people like from the Harry Belafonte video, 200,000 people in 1963 came out non-violently to like all in one accord, respectfully want change for their fellow man as a Black person in the country. And people still want that now. But what the government has done is, from water hose to dogs to tear gas and rubber bullets, it just hasn't changed, because when it comes to them, they still receive the fruits and benefits of like the system that they brought up in. And as far as like the capital rise of it all, like you said, like it's a double entendre. It's like they didn't see their white people, like their fellow white brother and sister, like do that So that's why they reacted so poorly, because they don't see us as other, like also said earlier. We're not human, we're not their brother, we're still the other. But also now you also have to realize to that point that their time is slowly running up as well, as far as coronavirus and how you deal with that. And it's dealing with people that look like them as well and not just us. And also when their sense of governance is also being like threatened, because it's white people that stormed the Capitol, not the black people that you always feared for the last 400 years, which I've always been curious as to what would happen if black people chose the route of revenge over love. But we already know what would happen. But so the Capitol building, as me, is like the only taste that I can see of like what would happen if somebody of an inkling tried to hold a revolution or an insurrection against the government. And the U.S. government gonna have to realize that it's not people that look like me or other people of color that's really all the issue here. Like in the forefront, like if you see the common denominator of every issue that's going on in America, unfortunately, it looks like people of their complexion.
Yes.
So slowly coming to that recognition. But like the FBI is gonna like you have to do something, because they're touching you. Like your money and your resources is gonna be affected if you do not like understand the self-destruction like mindset that they've entailed this whole entire time. So that's how I feel.
Right, Ryan. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so you have so graciously taken us into part 2, Ryan, where we're going to hear from the NxGen Media interns, as well as back to the beginning ministry with Miss Carla McKinney. This segment is to bring it full speed ahead. We didn't want to just do a reflective moment where we only look back at what was, but we wanted to bring it full speed ahead so that we can have some current dialogue and conversation about what is before us. And so I want to invite Ryan, Reginald Carter, who is a master's level student at Adler University in Chicago, Melissa, master's level student at Adler University in Chicago, and Christine to the conversation, as well as McKinney. This segment is titled Chaos at the Capitol. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? And I'd like to get the perspectives of the young folk. Let's have a dialogue about how you're perceiving what's happening, because as you know, generationally speaking, often there are differences in perspectives and views. And we provided the videos in the first segment so the young folks would have a benefit of seeing what was. But let's talk about how you're contrasting that and what your thoughts about what's happening politically in this country and what we need to do perhaps going forward. What is the mindset of your peers? What are they discussing and talking about in this moment?
Okay, I'll go ahead and kick us off. So there's something I wanted to showcase to the audience, and this kind of goes back to about the bias that I think Elaine's mother said about the system.
Bobby, let me tell y'all, this is Bobby Murphy. Bobby is my production lead, technical production lead, and handles all of the logistics behind the scenes. He attends the University of Missouri, St. Louis. He's in his last year. He's been with me from May, 18 months. And so go ahead, Bobby.
Okay, so there, like, what I want to show everyone, or show the audience, is a video of the summer protests back in June of 2020, which was the protest for George Floyd. So this video here, you can clearly see that there was armed guards. They had the National Guards were already there. You know, they had their big M4 rifles, body armor, riot shields, all that. And I was noticing there was a picture that you can all see up on the screen, the audience. This is them. This was them ready to go for the Black Lives Matter protests that day. Now, the next video is from the Capitol protests a couple weeks ago. This video in particular showcases police officers letting them through, moving the barricades and walking backwards while the mob comes forward. And I was generally very sorry, I was generally pissed off. I was like, why are you letting them in? How did the Capitol building is a very important building. I think people forget that it is an essential government building. It's been there for years and years. But they got in. So there is a clear bias towards when there is a group of white people protesting, and then there's a group of black people protesting. The whole structure of this country was to put the people of color down, and that's the truth. People of color have been discriminated for a long, long time, and I feel like people act like that after MLK came along. We moved forward. We ended the discrimination in places. No more whites only signs on water fountains and on buildings. That it's over. Like, okay, well, we solved racism. Well, no, that's not quite it yet. We still have people who grew up in that time who were built upon, or not really built upon, but were okay with being hated. Like they learned that from the elders, from parents, that it was okay to hate people of color, that racism was fine, and then they pass it down to their children, and then they'll pass it down to their children. So the hate is going to keep coming. Obviously, without hate, there's no love. Without love, there's no hate. But you have to have both. The idea that I would like to take away from this Capitol riots is to hopefully we can move forward and have the love part outweigh the hate.
Thank you, Bobby. Ryan?
And for me,
okay, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I never, like, I didn't really know what white supremacy was. Of course I understood it as a concept, but I had no idea what it meant in the context of history. So seeing this happen and then also being part of this internship really motivated me to learn about, how we did get to this point, and just, comparing like the March on Bloody Sunday to, again, what Bobby just showed with the people at the Capitol, and how like the police force charged the people on Bloody Sunday and were like beating them and tear gassing them, where again, they just kind of stepped aside a couple weeks ago and said, come in. And learning about just the rage, especially people in the South had about integration. And I just didn't, I've heard about lynchings, I just didn't fully understand. And so I've been just educating myself and just deeply alarmed at the amount of rage and hate that white supremacist movement had, and that Bobby said that it's still festering, even though the signs have come down, it's still festering. In terms of going forward, I really don't know what to do. I know I can like work on myself, and in my white community, that's, our conversation is like, we don't really know what to do, because, we don't have those beliefs. We believe, in equality and all those things, but yeah, we're not sure. So my first step was just educating myself, but I'm constantly looking for ways that I can, make change within what I have control over.
Yeah, we just need to stop. We just need to learn the history, because you can't grow if you don't learn your mistakes, and that's the problem. Is I feel like we still haven't learned. It's okay to admit, it's always okay to admit that you're mistaken, but because some people just don't like to admit that they're wrong. I think that's what we had our other intern Chris say, that people don't like to admit that they're wrong. That's a problem. It's okay to be wrong. It's just as long as you can correct yourself, and then you'll grow as a human being.
I just want to jump in, Bobby. So I'm Melissa from Adler, another intern with the Justice Beat. I think I agree with you. I think we need to learn, but I think there's a deeper level, and that is that there is an entire group of white people who hate Black people. And that's a whole different level. And there's a difference between people in the white community who just need to learn more and educate themselves. I totally agree. But then there's a whole nother level that I think, until that other level of hatred and nastiness and disgustingness toward the other, toward someone who is not like me, toward someone who is not white, until that goes away, I think we will continue to have the problems that we have. They will continue to uprise because, and it was witnessed at the Capitol, you've got people who believe that it's okay to go on a manhunt for another human being in a preserved sacred building that belongs to all of us as Americans, and literally have plans to kill people. That is, it's mind-boggling. And the thing about that is that that's what drives this even further. It drives it so deeply. That's what has driven any of this. Like, MLK was shot standing on a balcony, and he was a man of peace. Like, so I guess what I want to say is I think it's deeper than that. And I think if we don't acknowledge that, we have completely missed the point.
Yeah, because we need to root out the hatred in people, because there are white supremacists in our police force and even in our military. And I'll go as far as say that there are politicians who are white supremacists. They just hide it. It's not a conspiracy theory. No, there are people in these positions who are white supremacists, and we just let it go. Like, that's why these police officers who always end up killing an unarmed black man, they don't even get arrested for it. They just either get suspended with pay or just fired. Well, they can just go work in another police department. They don't care. They don't really check these backgrounds. They just hire them on the spot. Like, where is the background checks on individuals? We need to start looking at people's mental health, who they are as a person. Use social media. A lot of people use social media, and I learned this in business class, but companies will look at your social media stuff, and they will determine if you are fit for the job depending on what you post and who you are as a person. So I want our military and I want our police forces to start looking at these people who they hire. Because if they're not looking, then the killings of unarmed black people are going to keep going. I mean, it's still, the last few months, we had so many. I mean, George Floyd, Elijah McClain, Casey Goodman, Breonna Taylor. Like, the numbers, the names keep coming and coming.
I know.
So, like,
Okay, so we have, hang on one second. We have Miss McKinney that wants to jump in, and then Miss M.L. Smith raised her hand, and she will be next.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Carla Sutton McKinney. I am Miss Elaine Sutton's sister. I thank you for inviting me to the conversation. I live here in Memphis, Tennessee. Just moved here recently from Kansas City, Missouri. I taught high school mathematics at alternative high school there in Kansas City, Missouri. Back to Beginning is my poetry ministry, do a lot of writing, and that it was born out of really thinking about how to make a change. My heart is with young people, is getting the word and getting them activated into what's going on right now. As I look at everything that has transpired, I got up this morning and after having some prayer time, I sent a message out to my young people about needing them to get involved and making their voice heard. So I think kind of this segment is about what are we going to do from this point? And for me, it's about being more vocal with the young people and calling them out in their own behavior.
Yes.
Calling them out about what it is that they need to do. For me, I can't any longer allow them to use the excuse of the external to justify their behavior. There are some internal issues that need to be addressed with them that it gets manifested in what they do externally. So my call to them is from a teacher perspective, from a mother perspective, from a grandmother perspective, I'm going to call you out about your own behavior. I have understanding of what's going out there in the world. I'm not dismissing it, but sometimes I have looked at their, what's going on in their personal life, teaching in the Urban Core of Kansas City at an alternative school. It wasn't a school that was for students that got kicked out. For some of them, the traumatic events in their life made it impossible for them to function in a traditional high school. So you get these behaviors in the school that you don't know what to do with, and then you send them back out to the streets, and this is what happens with them. So my personal call is, in my community are young people, high school up until 25. I'm calling them. I stay in contact with most of them via Facebook. I'm checking on them. That's my responsibility. If you came through my classroom at any point in time, I feel that's my ministry. I'm responsible. God gave you to me. I was on the phone. I was late getting on the call because I was talking with a student who's in Florida, talking to her about what she needs to do. I understand what the police are doing. I understand what white America is doing. I understand all of that. But right now, I need to help. However the Lord chooses to use me is to help you be whole, so that the next choice that you make, the next decision for your life, is based on what's best for is based on what's best for you. So my call, my charge, and how I see I can help make this better is getting my young people to agree with the choices that they're making are not best for them. It doesn't matter what white America is doing. It doesn't matter what mom and daddy didn't do. It doesn't matter. How can I help you to be whole again so you can make the decisions that you make that are best for you, that are best for these children that you continue to bring into the world, that are best for the next generation. I was teaching a generation whose parents got caught up in the drug. 90% of my kids were living with their grandparents. I got to help them do better. So my call to them when I put that video out this morning was letting them know that I love them. I'm available. My door is open. Call me, message me if you need, but I'm here. So that's my response to what's going on. I'm going to tackle it from the inside. I want to make my young people whole and allow the Lord to help me do that.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. Anyone else representing the internship program have any additional comments? Reginald?
Yes, I'm Reginald Carter, master's student at Adler University. At my young age, at only 25 years old, I came from a pretty wealthy background, but my parents always instilled in me that you have two strikes against you already growing up. You're African American and you're a male. So understand that you're gonna have to work 2 times as harder to get exactly what you want in this country. And that's something that's been instilled in me almost every day. I understand that I have this X on my back and I have to continue to walk with it. Right now, I work as a juvenile supervision officer. So I'm constantly around a lot of kids that have made terrible mistakes in their lives. You would think that it's pretty much the end of the road for a lot of them. Like you said, Ms. Carlos, that it's important to instill in them that you do have a choice. You can't control how the other races will treat you, control how they feel anymore. You have to understand that you and your own self have a choice. Just because it might not necessarily look like mine with my 2 parents that I have. Understand that you have to still be able to fight through that different types of struggle and push forward, and don't resort to the violent nature that these people who are judges and the prosecutors, they want you to make these mistakes because they want to continue to lock you up, continue to find ways to keep you pretty much under wraps types of things. I've seen kids come in with the same crimes as other kids that are white, and the white kids actually do get to leave maybe 2 months early before the other kids would get to leave, and that's the exact same crime. So that's another thing I have to try and explain to them, that this is not going to be fair. It probably won't ever be fair in your lifetime. But you find a way to still get what you want in this world and understand it's going to take 2 times as much hard work.
All right, thank you, Reginald. Thank you. All right, so we are coming up on, well, it's just about 11 o'clock, and we did say this would be about an hour. Reverend McCowan, do you want to add any additional comments?
Yeah. Well, somebody's got a lot of feedback. If you're not talking, you mute yourself, and that won't get all that feedback. Or Elaine, if you can't do that, then we have to mute everybody except for me right now. All right. But at any rate, I enjoyed.
McCowan, hang on 1 second.
Okay. All right.
I'm looking for the mute all button, but in the interim, anyone that's listening and participating, we're hearing a lot of shuffling and papers moving and drawers opening and closing in the background. Please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So I believe Melissa, Reggie, all you guys, I really enjoyed Christine, I believe Bobby. There was one other young person that's part of your team. But at any rate,
in Hampton and Reginald Carter.
And Melissa too.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks. Really need to hear your perspective. And I think you kind of summarize it all up. I mean, the irony of it is that, yeah, in some ways, America for African Americans has gotten better, but then some ways, some of this stuff we're going backwards. Yet the same things that you were just saying today, Reggie, about having to work twice as hard to at least break even. Even when we work twice as hard, a lot of times we're still not breaking even. We're still the lowest paid. We're still communities are still being redlined where we don't get the loans. We're paying higher interest loans for we have the same job, same income. Yeah, we're going to pay a higher interest because of the color of our skin. Those kind of things have still not changed. And the conversations that you're having and that your parents have with you shouldn't be having anymore. And so the young people, I'm speaking directly to you. I want to recruit you to do what you're doing right now. Work with Elaine. Work with all the organizations as you matriculate your way through life. Help us make sure this is not passed down to another generation. Now you cannot legislate people's heart. You can't make Melissa anybody love you. You can't legislate that. But what you can do with laws is to regulate a black heart, an evil heart, and make them not do things wrong. And so what I'm hoping is that all those folks who ran up there in the Capitol building, all the state legislators and senators that helped orchestrate and organize that attempted coup, I think they need to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And then they let everybody be made aware that this is not acceptable behavior. This is not a revolution. You shouldn't be going around killing Black Lives Matter. And we're not going to have two governments. We're not going to have Trump running around here organizing his while our president, the duly elected president-elect, right now, Joseph Biden, is running his government. It's not going to be two governments. Never had that before, and it's not going to happen this time. I'm sorry to say, so help me God. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But that's let me not, I feel a sermon coming on there, Elaine, so I better stop.
Well, you know what I was about to say? There's a tremendous illustration of what's going on right now manifesting in the physical, in the word, in the book of Ezra.
Oh, wow. Yes. Oh, yes. Yep. Joseph, I talked about that yesterday.
Exactly.
Before the program, I'd like to offer just one other perspective that I think is really important. We've talked about what happened in the past and brought it to what has happened now, but I think our real focus needs to be on exactly what we can do to effectuate the change that we need to see. And what happened in Georgia is a prime example. We do a lot of talking, we pay a lot of lip service, but in order to really flip the switch on structural control, we need to have more Black and brown people in these positions that have an effect on the life of every one of us as citizens. Going back to something that Carla McKinney said about the position from which she's operating, and that's important. We need people involved with our young people because we can't really have an expectation of someone doing something for us that we are not doing ourselves. And so we need to get hold of the young people, the young lives, the young minds, and help them formulate a path forward that's going to be productive for them and for their people. You cannot, as you said, legislate a change of heart. And the primary problem in our land today is that people no longer consider what God requires of us, those of us who as believers, no longer consider that to be the ruling principle in our lives. And that's really what's behind a lot of what's happening now. But in the natural, we can do things, but we need to get every brown and black person that we can muster to become qualified and get out and vote. And you don't have to walk the streets with guns.
Right.
You don't. And one of the things is we can't have an armed revolution. Black people do not have sufficient firepower. You're not going to be allowed to have sufficient firepower. You need to become the rulers, the movers, and the shakers of the laws in this land. And that is where we need to place our focus. You know, reflecting on what happened in the past serves a purpose, but it does not serve the purpose that we need now that propels us forward. And that is where I would like to see our conversations focus going forward. What do we do now? Identify steps and begin to work.
Yeah, and one of the and Ms. Dunlap, I'm gonna get right to you. One of the I see you.
Yay.
Okay. So we have let me tell you a little bit about the role this show plays. Okay, because we may not necessarily be in the streets, but one of the main goal of this show is to get information out to regular everyday folk. I was talking to someone last Tuesday from Cut 50, Van Jones organization, and he did our brown bag conversation with the interns on Tuesday, which we hold every month. And he was listing their accomplishments, and with the help of Meek Mills, Jay-Z, Kim Kardashian. So we were looking for ways to collaborate with the show, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things that I said to the gentleman that was our featured speaker was the one thing that makes this show different is we're not trying to necessarily connect with folks who are well-known, wealthy, etc. We got to get this information out to everyday folk who are working 2 and 3 jobs, married, kids at home on virtual learning, and have no way of even availing themselves of information, because by the time they finish their work, they're exhausted, tired, don't even know which way to turn. So as Ms. Gill talked about, my mom, as she said, we do have to elevate this conversation to a place of strategic action. What we have found in a lot of the comments on our shows on Saturday, the first place is information, because you know what we're finding when we go back and look at the comments? People don't even know where to start. A lot of them don't even have they don't even have the basic information or understanding about policy, about legislation, even what is advocacy. That, I mean, it's almost like an elementary process we got to take people through. So one of the things that we're doing as a show, and I've got about 10 interns with me for season 3, kicking off in February. Each one of them have a very strategic role. They are not here as the help. They are taking very leading strategic roles. We're going to have a blogger, a videographer, someone to repurpose all of our show content. to put it into manageable bite sizes where people can get it and understand it. They're going to have resources developed where folks can go and say, look, oh, okay, this is where I need to go in case I'm having an issue with a mental health crisis in a family member. That's our role. As Ms. Gill pointed out, we need folks to stop thinking, okay, that's not my lane, so I don't know what to do. Nobody's asking you to get in this lane and to run it like it's yours. What we are saying is care enough about the issues that could potentially impact your family, your Black son, your Black daughter. Care enough to say, okay, I may not necessarily have the information, the education, but how can I support what you're doing so that we can get it out to everyone else? Ms. Dunlap.
Right.
Well, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for the invitation, Mr. Mbeja. This is a wonderful video, and I've enjoyed the conversation. We have so many issues that we need to address. There's so many legs to what we face today. And the lady from Kansas City, instructor, talking about the young people. So many of our young people are really traumatized. They've been through so many problems and issues within their families that there's some healing that needs to take place within us. And we need to work on that first and foremost. And a couple of years ago when I was at the African Arts Festival talking to some young people, and one man that was during the 2016 election, and many people were talking about my vote doesn't count. Well, today we realize that our vote did count.
Yes.
Because now they're talking about our vote was fraudulent. They're talking about Black people when they say the vote was fraudulent, because they're talking about the big cities where we voted in Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Chicago, and all the cities where we really came out. Stacey Abrams did her thing. So we've got to really look at that, because during Reconstruction, we had it going on. We were in Congress, things were happening. And Brother Mbeja, I always like to look back in history, looking back to go forward. Sankofa says we got to look at our history in order to move forward. So my takeaway from all this is that there's power in the vote. We've got healing to do within our own race, because we got to look at ourselves first before we can always go forward. So we've got to work on that as well. So I want to thank you for inviting me, and I hope to come back. Is this going to be a weekly?
Yes, ma'am. We actually air every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. via Facebook Live every Saturday. And so please join us. And you can go to our Facebook page. I put a link in the chat area, and I'll put it again. If Melissa or someone else can put it there. But yeah,
thank you. I'll definitely tune in.
Yes, ma'am. And I think we got a new, and I'll discuss what I mean about this later with the production team, but I think we got a new format going on here. They know what I'm talking about.
Elaine, can I jump in and say one quick thing?
You're not gonna give away what I just said, right?
Nope.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to bring it back to MLK and say he was a prophet of peace. He was a prophet of peace. He wasn't just a man. He wasn't just an activist. He wasn't, he was strong. Like, his voice was emanating through the world. We need that again. We need a male Black prophet of peace. That's my 2 cents.
I think I like to think we do. I think, what is his name? I think Ralph Jackson. Isn't he still kicking? Or Reverend Ralph Jackson? Or there is a Black priest. He was around, I think, during MLK, who does like the speak up during these Black Lives Matter. He was there at the Washington one last summer.
Are you talking about?
Not Ralph Jackson. I don't think it's. I can't remember his name.
Jesse. Ralph Abernathy. Jesse Jackson.
No. He's talking about Sharpton. You talking about Al Sharpton?
Yeah, Al Sharpton. Yeah, he seems. I always hear him talk because he's always there. He's always there, and he reminds me a bit of MLK. I think he definitely has his vision, because he was around with MLK, wasn't he?
Yes.
He's been around for quite some time, so he's definitely because I always feel like this question doesn't get asked, but I always wonder if MLK was still alive, and seeing all of this happening, what would he think? What would he do? Do you think he would think that his movement failed? Do you think it would have succeeded?
I think he got a glimpse.
Good question.
I'm going out on a limb, and Reverend McCowan come on behind me to respond to Bobby. But I think Dr. King got a glimpse, what you're calling failure. But before he died, a few years before he died, I think he had an awakening and a glimpse of where he would have strategically done something different. And that is when he began to talk about, he thinks that the error they made was integration. Seeking integration.
It was desegregation, that you should have a right to go wherever you want to go and be treated equally in public venues. But to fight to sit next to somebody else who don't want to sit next to you, and I'm talking about in your school necessarily, or if you integrate a community because you are allowed to move next door, then that's one thing. But you cannot have laws that keeps me from being able to move next door to you. So those are the kind of, so that was the debate, whether it's integration or desegregation. So he said he wouldn't have spent that much time on integration, in the sense that, he believed that he was leading his people into a burning house.
That's
right. And then we had the discussion with Henry Belafonte, everybody actually said, well, King, what should we do? And Belafonte recounts that King responded, well, we have to be the firemen and fire people, and we have to put water on it and put the fire out. But so let me just say this, because I don't know how much time we have, but I just want to just thank all of you all for being here last year when Sister Lane was kind enough to allow a poor Black Baptist preacher to be a co-host of her show. I was honored, and I co-hosted our show last year, the first one she had with this format, and I'm thankful that she was kind enough to call me back again to co-host on our anniversary. Elaine works hard. I admire the work she does. I encourage her to keep it up. And this was a great opportunity. I enjoyed everybody. And you all, there's no big eyes and no little U's. I would just share with you that.
Listen, let me call you right back.
Very,
One second.
very big.
Someone needs to mute. We're hearing your phone conversation. Please.
Thank you. So we have some very heavy hitters on the phone. I know that Rhea Lackland, Bishop from the Kingdom Destiny Fellowship International, overseers from that organization, Mary Craig. We got my professor out at Eden Theological Seminary, my sister, my wife, and my children. And so I want to thank all you young people and everybody for being on this program one day and making it the great success that it has been. I enjoyed everybody's input. And to you, Melissa, I would just say this, that there is a Martin Luther King inside of you. We don't have to look outside ourselves for that great Black leader. That great Black man leader is in you. And I want you to manifest that great Black man voice and speak truth to power and defend the weak from the weak. You can do it, Melissa. Okay. God bless you.
And listen, I see two hands up. Y'all got 30 seconds. Miss Smith, did you still have a comment? And Miss McKinney. Miss Smith.
Yeah, I do have a comment. Thank you very much.
I apologize for the delay.
Oh, that's fine. I've been listening this whole time, and I definitely appreciate being here. I just want to express to people something about MLK. Between 55 and 66, he was very passive. He was very nonviolent. He was very measured in what he said. And but there came a time where he got tired of that. He got tired of the liberals telling him, the white people, okay, it's not time yet. Just give us a little time. Wait a minute. Even after 64, when LBJ passed the Civil Rights Act and all that. So, and at that time, it was more racial justice, more equality and everything. And a lot of people didn't like him, but he was accepted. He was left alone. And between 67 and 68, the quote about the burning house, he became more radical. MLK went to Chicago at one point, and he said Chicago was worse than any town he had seen down south because of the poverty, because of the housing projects, because of things that he saw. He saw how capitalism and poverty was really affecting people, and that's when he decided to get more radical in his speech and in his work, which is why he was in Memphis, which is why he was killed. So people love to talk about the early days of MLK, the passive quotes and his more nonviolent, and he was always nonviolent, but he did get to a point where he was tired of that and he was ready to get things popping. He was ready to take on the system of capitalism that really had everybody, you know, poor and struggling and suffering. And that time, and that's when they killed him, first of all. And that's the time where people really don't want to, you know, speak on him. And a friend of mine put a quote up today, and I just wanted to read it from MLK during that time. He said, "Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed." And so I remember the king of 67 and 68, the man who was murdered because he was talking about things that the system did not want him talking about. While he was talking about racism, they left him alone they, you know, COINTELPRO and all that, but they didn't kill him. But as soon as he got to talking about actually upending this system, he had to go. And that's the person that we really need to recognize and we really need to prop up. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Thank you. Ms. McKinney.
Yes, I just wanted to say also, speaking to Melissa, or maybe it was you that said it, whether King would have thought that what we're going through now was a failure. I look at this work that we are doing as a road that has these major peaks and it has valleys. When we look back to the March on Washington, there was something that we were facing great adversity. And you will, if you think about your history, it was during this time thereafter that Black Americans enjoyed their greatest growth. When our greatest adversity demonstrated our greatest growth. We are now at that same point again. Adversity has reared its head. We see it up front. The question is how are we going to respond to it? We can have our next greatest growth in how we respond to adversity that has literally slapped us in our face. What is going to be your response to it? So if you're working on a road that's just smooth, you can see to the end, then I would question how much skin you actually have in this game. Because I know in my work, being in the classroom, I had peaks, I was riding high, then something would hit me and I'm in the valley again. And my question to myself was, when I was in that valley, what do I need to do to get back to get to the next peak, knowing that there's going to be a valley on the other side? So that's where we are right now. We're in a valley. What are we going to do to respond to the adversity that we are now experiencing?
Thank you. Thank you.
Elaine.
Yes, sir.
Can you make sure Bishop Derek Robinson gets an opportunity? A lot of the folks are associated with his ministry, Kingdom Destiny Fellowship International, has joined us this morning. I think it'd be good to hear.
Absolutely. Is it Bishop Robinson? You said.
Yes.
Okay, Bishop Robinson, are you with us? Can you hear me?
I think he may have dropped off. I'm not sure.
I'll
try to get him back on.
Okay. If you can, is there someone that can speak in his place?
Yeah, Bishop, this is Bishop Maria Lackland. Bishop Lackland, you speak if you want to.
Well, thank you so much, and praise the Lord, everybody. I am so humbled and honored to have been invited by Pastor McCowan to this great dialogue. And I was placing some comments in the chat box, hoping that we can connect, because our fellowship, Kingdom Destiny Fellowship International, has a group of young people, and we just had this conversation with them this past Saturday, and they are so fired up and so excited about the next move, and they wanted to know, what can we do in our generation. So I would love to connect with you all, so we can get them on board to move forward, because we can talk all day, all night, but until we put some action to that talk, and I just wanted to let people know, a lot of times when people are hurting, they hurt people. So we have to pray for our white brothers and sisters, because when you're happy, you don't act like this. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can come in and discourage you or take your peace away from you when you're happy. And so we have to really kind of focus on them as well, because we love all people. Come on, somebody. We love all people. We can't operate and minister having respect of persons or big I's and little U's. So when we come together as the leaders, I saw Ryan, and I think there was another young person on as well. So when we put our heads with their heads, we can come up with a solution, because I know God is greater than what we see. Somebody ought to talk to me this morning. Amen. Because there's absolutely nothing too hard for the Lord, and he's not looking for bishops and apostles and preachers and all of that. He is looking for a believer. And just what I have heard on this conversation this morning, you all are believers. You know that this can be done. And let me stop talking, because I can go on and on. I'm excited about what I'm hearing, people of God. Thank you so much for this time.
Bless you so much. Thank you for joining us. And if you can, please do.
Real quick.
Okay, we need to keep it brief. Okay.
Just want to reinforce what Sister, I believe her name was Smith, said about King. He had definitely made the shift, and we need to begin to recognize that. Peacefulness was still part of his game plan, but he had definitely made the shift to attacking in an area that would help to lift us up out of this hole that we're in. And that's the economic front. And also, it was the economic front, and then the dominion that we displayed in wars over other countries. And as soon as he began to do that, that is when he became a real enemy of the government. And most today honestly believe that is why he was killed, because he had a following that would have made that shift with him. And it could be dangerous at that time. And what Ms. McKinney said about where we need to put our focus and how we need to bring our young people in, because they are not our leaders of tomorrow. They are our leaders in training today, and we need to take responsibility for handing over those reins, but continuing to provide oversight and mentorship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else?
I have one last thing I would like to
say. All right, Mr. Ryan Howard Bison.
Thank you. I would like to say I agree with Miss McKinney and your mother and Miss Smith on everything that they said. I feel like two things have to happen at the same time. People that look like me and the young people have to recognize the self-love and the self-accountability. We have to realize that we are the makers of our own society.
Is he back? Is Bishop back?
Yes, he came back. Hang on. Go ahead, Ryan.
We gotta realize within ourselves that we are the holders of our destiny and self-love and self-identity in all spaces at all times, and recognize the love and power that we have no matter where we are, economically speaking or spiritually speaking or physically speaking. So that's what we got to continue to do, is order for Black people as all to be able to make the significant changes that we can do on our end. But at the same time, and I don't believe that this is a coincidence or an accident, for the fellow people of the Caucasian variety that's in this room and beyond, y'all have to recognize the spiritual revolution that the people, overwhelmingly amount of people on your end, have to do to be able to let us do what we've been trying to do forever and a day. Because I feel like we've been doing everything right. We know the statistics of us. We know what we have to do. We know what we need to do. But there's got to be some sort of systematic like revolution within yourselves to understand, to like get rid of all these stigmas that y'all placed holder in this country for as long as it's been. And like, because at some point, and I recognize because people live in different areas, at some point, not excuse, but the statement or like the implication of like white people not knowing, it's like, I can't buy that for too much longer. I was like, for 400, 500, 600 years, there's no way you didn't know. There's no way. It must be a system. There must be a reason because of how the educational system is set up for different ethnicities and different class of ethnicities and how they both coincide together. But there's just no way at some point that people in this country don't know the historical implications of everything and why things happen to where we at now.
Yes.
There's no longer an excuse. It's like it has to be the same for like both white people as well. Like y'all also have to know and do the due diligence on y'all end to like respectfully like show yourselves and y'all younger generations what's right and what's like should be the standard of human decency and not what the governing society has built in place this whole entire time that we're fighting to like reverse at the same time.
Right, Ryan. Thank you. I see Bishop Robinson has rejoined. Yes, sir. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Word, sir?
Well, I just want to first say thank you for this opportunity, and God bless you, Pastor McCowan, and to this amazing queen. God bless you as well, and to all of you great people and leaders. Just, snaps to Ryan. I can really appreciate what you shared because I frequently, and I think for all of those white comrades that there is, I think it's important that you share and that you ensure that you educate your community. And when you get to the family dinners and just as we have to educate our young Black men and young Black women about systemic racism, that it exists and police brutality exists. We want you to educate your children and allow them to know that this exists. And I share this quick story with you all. One year, my son, Pastor McCowan, he was going to a predominantly white school on the south side of St. Louis. And one day he came home crying. I mean, he was just crying. And he wasn't about 8 years old, or I think 8. He was 8 at the time. And he came home. My son is named Zion. He came home and he was crying. I mean, just weeping really bad. And I thought something. I'm like, what is wrong with this man, this boy? He just keep crying, and he just cried and cried and cried. And so, eventually, I asked him because when first when I was asking what was going on, I thought maybe he missed us. Ain't no telling. And so he said, my friend's mother told him to not be my friend anymore because I wasn't white. And 8-year-old, he did not understand what that meant. He like, what does she mean? So we went and I requested a meeting with that particular parent. And I asked that parent, I said, your child is 8 years old and you would teach racism and to teach them hate at 8 years old. And I began to really share with her. And at the end of that conversation, we were able to, she said to me just what Ryan just said, which really sparked nerves. She said, I didn't know, I wasn't aware of that. I says, how come? If you said that to your son, that means you are very well aware of the systemic racism that exists in our country, and even as the hate that exists. And so I just want to say I'm really ecstatic and amazed and in all of this Zoom today, and it really have just let us know that we have to constantly, in the words of Martin Luther King, push that justice will reign around this nation, and that we continue to not be silent, that we utilize our voices and allow our voices to be heard. And those of us who have a voice, don't allow your voice to be, don't allow no one to silence you. And that's what I believe.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Bishop, good to see you, Doc.
Right.
Good to see you, sir. Good to see you, David.
Glad to have you. Anyone else that we have overlooked that has not had an opportunity to speak?
I can reiterate on something, probably like about a minute.
Okay, sir. What's your name?
David Woods.
David Woods. Okay, nice to have you, sir.
Thank you. I'm Reverend McCowan's son, the eldest. I've been here for 36 years now, and I'm gonna tell you from what I've seen through my upbringing, had good background as far as me being in church, and I'm also a musician. Also, do a lot of a lot of music for us, dealing with hip hop artists and stuff like that. So, and I play in church on Sundays also. So I'm a church musician. But I've noticed mainly in our community of music has a lot to do with the way the world changes. Far as in our hip hop, not so mainly gospel, but I know in our hip hop community, Dr. Martin Luther King pretty much was a big part of it, and he birthed it to where we got to the pretty much the 70s and the 80s. You saw a lot of that come out through the hip hop artists that was coming out. Mainly, most of everything was messages and so forth. Like one of my biggest influences, KRS-One, one of my favorite rappers. I always take likeness to him when when he speaks pretty much about how the culture has just changed throughout the years or so like that. It's gotten from the message part to where we got right now, not generation now, not so much my generation, but the generation after me or so like that. We got so many guns and everybody over in front of the house in these videos and stuff where music used to be creative.
Yes.
It was creative. Now it's got to the point to where it's a drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point to where our kids and everything, pretty much everybody that's growing up that's looking at it right now for us, I have children too. I'm not biased on music or anything like that. I'm just saying let's change it to where let's get it back to where it's real consciousness, to where God has his hand in the music now, to where he constantly has his hand in the music. Like you say, America is scared right now.
Mm-hmm.
America is very scared. So it's a lot of content that's getting put out. It's more so of a reality now. It is a reality more so of the facade. We used to look at Superman and Spider-Man and stuff like that to where that was our dream, and we could kind of place that and be in our dream. So now it's like you wake up in the morning, it is really reality. Okay, like shoot, somebody might be standing in front of you with some type of hate or some type of, just on the line, just, being respectful, we got to get our respect back in our culture pretty much. Because even though so now, the suburban area has turned over. We're like the ghetto now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a lot of things going on. I just want to reiterate on that. Everything that's going on in our society in America has a lot to do with the content of music that's coming out today.
Yeah, music, the arts and entertainment industry shifts society and culture.
Yes.
They're one of the biggest influencers in shifting society and culture. And guess what? You can't really blame them because the church has a mandate. The body, those who believe, have a mandate to shift society and culture.
Yes.
And we have not been present. Okay?
Yeah.
We got to counter what's happening and coming out of Hollywood so that we can shift the society and culture.
Mm-hmm. Sister Lane,
yes, sir.
Can you unmute? Can you unmute Michelle Smith? She was trying to get in there, but she let me know she wasn't able to get in.
Let's see what we got going. Keep the conversation going while I try to get that done.
Yeah. I do talk. I'm sorry, I am here. I did talk for a few minutes. And also I wanted to say, if it's okay, I have been speaking with Reverend McCowan over the last few days. And I just really want to keep this issue in people's minds. Last Friday, the federal government killed an innocent man on Martin Luther King's birthday. And I will never forget that. And I really don't want everyone else to forget that. Not the fact that we need to abolish the death penalty is one thing, and it affects our people very harshly. Dustin was actually innocent. He didn't kill anybody. This was in court. It wasn't none. I'm just saying the court records show that he did not kill anyone, and they murdered him anyway. So, you know, we like we said at the beginning, we're still dealing with this. We're still dealing with modern day lynchings and racism, and it's definitely something that we need to work towards getting to a point to hold these people accountable for what they're doing. And hopefully the death penalty will be abolished soon. But I just, like I said, wanted to let everyone know this is kind of a solemn day for me and people in the movement, and of course Dustin's family.
And you know, Cori Bush is putting forth some legislation to abolish the death penalty, at least at the federal level. So you guys have to pay attention to legislation coming out of Cori's office.
She's been coming up with some really dynamic, progressive legislation, and I would tell you that they have not. Smith, how long? When was the last time that they had killed someone? They had a moratorium for about 17 years, even though it was on the book with the death.
Yeah, they hadn't killed anyone in 17 years. The feds, anyway, had killed anyone in 17 years. And I think, honestly, Trump and Barr realized that Trump was going to lose the election, you know, back in the summer. And I don't know what type of bloodthirst these people have or what exactly is wrong with them. But they sat down and said, let's kill as many people as we can before we go. That's disgusting. They killed 13 people between July and this year. They killed 13 people.
13 people from July 20 up until last Friday.
Yes, 13.
And one of them was a woman.
Yes, Lisa Montgomery was killed the 12th, which was last Tuesday, I believe. And her crime was horrific. However, the woman has suffered a lifelong of sex trafficking, abuse, and trauma, and nobody intervened to help. And I always tell people when they say stuff about, like, you know, oh, this person committed this horrible act. The thing is, it's not about the person's crime. It's about this nation's right to kill someone. We have no moral authority in this nation to kill someone. That we have committed genocide. I say we as in a country, but we have committed genocide on millions of indigenous people. We've enslaved, generations of Africans. No one here in this government has the right to say that someone needs to die. That's just not something that we have the moral authority to do. So that's why we are against the death penalty, not about the person's crime, but about this country's, right to kill, and then killed an innocent man a couple of days ago. So no, that is definitely not okay.
I think what you're sharing with us, Michelle, is important for this conversation, because certainly you know that Martin Luther King was against the death penalty, and in fact, he wanted to stay silent on the Vietnam War, but after he saw how people were being citizens, not just the army people, but how regular Vietnamese people were being killed with napalm, scraping of bombs and machine guns, and how they were being mutilated. He was against the death penalty, but he's nonviolent, and his violence was universal. And so he was against the death penalty. So I think that your comment on the death penalty and Martin Luther King's stance of nonviolence, ethical stance of nonviolence, is very appropriate. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It is now 11:47. We have
how long was it supposed to be? Sister Lang, how long was this show supposed to be?
Well, it was supposed to be an hour, right? But I did send out a caveat saying, okay, now look, it may run over. If you got to tip out, go ahead and tip out. But we had a great conversation going, okay? I thoroughly enjoyed it, and this was a great way to kick off MLK Holiday and recognize our 1 year. And I personally want to thank Reverend McCowan, because on January 20th, 2020, we launched the special broadcast announcing the forthcoming show, the Justice Beat Show. Right. And we did it live in studio at the time. And we kicked off in February, the first episode. And Reverend McCowan serves as a special guest host because he comes back when I may need him, and especially for the anniversary shows, because he's in school and he's all over the city doing stuff. But I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, your commitment. Also, all of your talking the show up before it was really even a thing and getting everybody on board and supporting it. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're a lovely person. My wife just adores you.
Oh.
Your mom, I'm in love with your mom. I think she's a wonderful civil rights leader. I want to talk to her more, and I appreciate your sister and all the work she's doing. So our family's gonna have to, when this COVID thing settles down and we all get our shot. We have to get together.
All right. Okay, so we have a closeout of several things that we put together to kind of close this show out. And again, I want to thank everyone that took the time to participate, to come on, to lend their voice, their insights, and their perspectives. This is not it. And as you know, we air every Saturday at 10 a.m. via Facebook Live. Season 3 will kick off on the first Saturday of February, which is Black History Month, which is February the 6th at 10 a.m. And we look forward to having you join us at that time. Please spread the word. I put in our chat area here all of the ways to stay connected and plugged into the show via Facebook, our Facebook group, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. So spread the word, like, share, comment, and tell everyone about us, okay? All right, so again, thank you so much, Justice Beat listening audience and our family on Real STL News' Facebook page. This has been a real treat for everyone. God bless and take care.
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. As I said to a group last night, nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennysonian or Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of our heritage. As somebody said earlier tonight, we don't have anything to be ashamed of. Somebody told a lie one day. They couched it in language. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. There's always something degrading and low and sinister. Look at the word white. It's always something pure, high, and clean. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful.
time to make a change. We are the people who can do it.
Check it. Here we go.
What is the world coming to? Seems like everybody's running from the truth. We must stand up and fight, walk into the light.
We're the people, we can do it if we try.
I know we can do it. Somebody asked me, why do we have to go through it?
It's just a test of our faith that we're living day to day. Don't know where, don't know when, but he's coming back again.
It's time to make a change. We are the people who can do it.
It's time to make a change. Oh yes, it's time.
Time to make a change.
Time to make a change.
We are the people who can do it.
Jesus is spreading mighty fast.
Earthquakes are moving through the land. It ain't nothing but a sign. Gotta make up our mind. We're the people, we can do it if we try. I know we can do it. Somebody asked me, why do we have to go through it now?
It's just a test of our faith that we're living day to day. Don't know where, don't know when, but he's coming back again.
It's time to
It
make a
starts with
change.
you and me.
We
The
are
time
the
is
people
now.
who can do it.
It's time to make a change.
It's time.
We need you.
Time to make a change.
We need you.
We are the people who can do it.
Well, it's time to make that change. People of the world today are fading. All of us have our ups and downs. You better think about it or you won't be around. See, what we need is a little bit of love sent by one from heaven up above. Take it from me, it's simple and plain. This ain't no game. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
I know we can do it. Somebody asked me, why do we have to go through it?
It's just a test of our faith that we're living day to day. Don't know where, don't know when, but he's coming back again.
It's time to make a change. We are the people who can do it.
Black lives matter.
It's time.
My life matters.
Time to make a change.
Time to make a change.
We are the
Time to make a change. Time to make a change. Time to make a change.
Time to make a change.
Time to make a change.
We are the people who can do it. It's time.
We gotta keep on marching.
Time to make
we gotta
a change.
keep on fighting.
We are the
gotta
people
keep on
who can do
praying. It's time.
It's time to make a change. We are the people who can do it.